'cause I love this land. It takes my breath away.
Welcome to Texas 10. Today we're going to talk about experiences in Texas.
So one of the best experiences in Texas, is there anything better than a cafe?
There's nothing, well, maybe Tex-Mex, but there's nothing other than Tex-Mex than a small town cafe.
Well, now that's an odd take, because if you're a foodie, there's sort of a hierarchy of restaurants, and you start with the French restaurant, you know, like the French Room in Dallas or whatnot, and then maybe a high-end modern America where it's very colorful, it's all about presentation, there's maybe 12 calories in the whole meal, and then you work your way to the modern steakhouse, high-end Italian, well-presented Tex-Mex, the super burger places that have cows that are petted daily and that sort of stuff. And then right down at the end, the perception is a cafe right above fast food.
Nope, I'll take the Texas Cafe every time. I don't have to worry about which fork to use. I can just dig in.
I can take her anywhere, but I take her to Texas Cafés is probably the best. And so let's talk a little bit about why Texas Cafés are so great.
Well, you know, one, it brings people together. In my family, there's a little bit of a history. My grandfather actually owned a cafe and hotel on the square in Athens, Texas, in Henderson County.
Right. So if you're old enough, you probably remember the Dean Hotel and Cafe. Mm-hmm. That was her papa.
No, that was Granddaddy.
Oh, Granddaddy. Okay, the other one was papa.
Yeah,
I get confused by all that. We'll do
it's
a whole
okay.
show on Texas relatives. So, and one of the things I like about that sort of story is it means that the money stays in the community. It's not a chain. It's not going off to New York or Chicago or even Dallas or wherever. And I also think it means they're actually glad you're there.
Yes, it does bring together community. I mean, whenever you go into a small town Texas cafe, you are always seeing the regulars. And sometimes you feel more welcome than others when you're an outsider. But for the most part, you are always welcomed. And I just love just sitting back and watching the interaction between the regulars in the cafe.
Well, and that's where our story actually started, right? Was at the Herring Cafe in Vernon, Texas.
Yeah, that was where all the farmers were there, and I talked about it in one of our previous episodes. The thing that was really impressive is that the owner and the waitresses knew everybody's name and everybody's order, and that grill was well seasoned, and there's just something about having eggs and hash browns off a well-seasoned grill that's been around for a long time. It's just, there's nothing better.
Okay, so we started with all the feel-good stories about Texas cafes, but that doesn't work unless it has great food. So let's talk a little bit about what you have to do to be considered a Texas cafe. When we do these trips, a lot of times we really get going on a Saturday morning, and we try to get to a breakfast at a Texas cafe.
We never eat like at a McDonald's. I mean, you know, we're not fast food people anyway, but we always try to find a local cafe for breakfast.
So first requirement is you got to be open by 7.
Absolutely.
Because a cafe is about working people and that sort of thing. That one of the things I like to say it makes a great cafe is you can wear your work boots on Friday, your tennis shoes on Saturday, and your church shoes on Sunday.
It's a place for everybody anytime.
Right. So, and that means getting open and getting open early. So
and the coffee's brewing, even though we don't drink coffee, but everyone else seems to.
So we open at 7, and I judge a cafe in the first look by the American breakfast.
Yes. It's funny because we go eat breakfast and seldom do we get anything other than I get scrambled eggs and bacon and a biscuit, or I might get an omelet, but I want the good quintessential breakfast.
Okay, so the American breakfast, traditionally 2 eggs. She gets hers scrambled. I get mine over easy, which is the right way to eat an egg.
Whatever.
And actually, they do it well in a restaurant. And then you've got your choice. You got to choose between the ham, the bacon, or the sausage, right?
I'm a bacon girl.
See, I like the sausage, and I think there's the widest variation. I think bacon can be bacon and ham can be ham, but if you have really well-seasoned sausage and you know it didn't come just out of a package.
Well, and you might get different kinds of sausages. There's venison, there's chicken, there's pork. I mean, so it's always interesting to see what kinds of sausages they offer.
Right. And so then the next big conundrum would be, is it hash browns or home fries?
Well, for me, it's hash browns every time. But I do like the home fries.
Right. So we were recently in Nacogdoches at Dolly's Diner, and they were the best home fries I've ever had. They were really great good. There. They're the little crispy on the outside, but real light and fluffy on the inside. But I'm with you. If I've got my choice, I'm going to go to hash browns.
Hash brown ground. And then the question is, do you get a biscuit or do you get toast?
Wheat toast.
Biscuit every time.
Right. And I'm suspicious of the cafe that has the English muffin.
Yes.
I'm a little suspicious.
And I'm always disappointed when the cafe doesn't have a biscuit.
Right. And although most of them do.
Yes.
Right. And then to top it off, you got to have what sort of jelly?
Strawberry.
Strawberry.
I prefer strawberry preserves, especially if they make it, and you've got to have some honey.
Right. And so we've been to lots of these places. Maybe the best one that I can think of, just as an example, I'm not saying it's the best, but the best one I can think of an example was in Harlingen. The Coffee Klatch.
Man, that was good. That was the one where the owner had sold it, and we were sitting up at the bar. It's very crowded. And we're sitting there and we're talking to the owners, and we're like, how do you keep this going? And they were like, actually, we bought this, 15 years ago or something?
No, it was right before the pandemic.
Oh, that's right. And then he said the owners came back and they were like, man, this place is doing great. We want it back. And they're like, oh, no, it's ours now. But they kept the tradition and they kept the name of the cafe, which I really loved.
Right. So, and shout out to Lucy and Desi. That is their actual name that run the Coffee Klatch in Harlingen.
I said, that's got to be a joke. And they were like, no, she's Lucy and I'm Desi.
Right. And so, so the next test of a great cafe, well, I like to see, we talked about the community, I like to see some sports reference in the cafe, and particularly when it's to the local high school.
Stephenville, Texas comes to mind.
Jake and Dorothy's in Stephenville Stephenville's always had a great high school football program. But they sort of pride of the community. We were there on sort of a lazy Saturday afternoon, had a great burger, and it's not in your face, but you look around and you know it's about Stephenville.
Right. It's kind of a little museum. You know, I love to go into these cafes that you can learn about the town by seeing the pictures. And I love it when they put the picture, like if the president comes through out in McGregor,
right.
They've got the picture of George Bush. And I love that. There's nothing better.
Well, and it's pretty cool to have a president come to your cafe.
Or just whatever celebrity they'll, if there's a country and western singer or someone that's really not that big of a celebrity, they've got them on the wall.
Right. And so that's great, again, ambiance, but you got to have a great lunch. And the real test of a cafe?
Pie.
No. Chicken fried steak.
Oh, yes, you are right.
Right. Well, and so you got to have a great chicken fried steak. Or you can have a chicken salad sandwich, I think is a sort of traditional Texas one. I like the disguised salad, where it's got a bunch of meat or stuff in it, but you call it a salad. So if somebody asks you what you had for lunch, you'd say a salad.
Oh, I had a chicken salad. It was fried chicken salad, but it's still chicken salad.
Right.
And the fried chicken. Fried food. And I'm just say cafes have fried food. Oh, and like a lot of times they'll have a meatloaf. That's great.
Right. And so I love all of that. But then you mentioned it. Where do you finish it off?
You finish it off with pie.
Pie. It makes me think of one of our favorites in Hico, which is right where 281 and 67 meet, the Coffee Cup.
Yep.
Coffee Cup Family Restaurant in Hico, and they've got this big freezer of pies.
You walk in and you're just like, oh, which one do I pick? And it's close enough to Waco. If you live in Waco, you can just drive up for the afternoon, have your piece of pie, and if you're a coffee drinker, have your cup of coffee, and then get back up on the road.
Right, and so it's actually fairly close to Dallas and Fort Worth too.
Yeah.
And Hico's a great little town, and the Coffee Cup is one of the reasons.
Right.
And so if you meet all of those requirements, you meet the requirements of a great Texas cafe. And we've been to, 100 of them.
Maybe more.
You know what's really hard? picking the best.
Yeah.
And this week at Texas10.com, that's what we've done. The 10 best cafes in Texas. At least our idea of what the 10 best are.
And I'm going to say we might not even between the two of us, we had to think about it and we might have some disagreements. So
She's got final call.
Yeah, well, I wonder what our Texan friends would say.
Well, you got the opportunity. We would love to hear from you at Texas10.com and on our Facebook at Texas10, or the page there. You've got a chance to, there's a neat little polling option. You can pick your favorites and tell us about that.
And if it's not on our list, I promise we'll go check it out for the rest of you.
Right. And so that's what we have at Texas 10 this week. We love the cafe. It's just an essential part of Texas.
And a great part of the community. We hope you'll keep joining us here at Texas 10.
And have some pie.
And I love this land. It takes my breath away. From the Palo Duro to the Gulf Coast plain. From the heart of the hill country to the piney wood shade. I love this land. It takes my breath away.